Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and this is not Two Back or Not Back. I'm currently at UKGE, which means no time to do all the research necessary for a Two Back or Not Back video, but I do like to make sure that your Monday videos are chock full of crowdfunding goodness in one way or another, and so today instead, we are doing the top 10 crowdfunded games in my collection. And I know I said top 10, but of course there's going to be 5 special mentions because I think 5 games do get a distinguishing characteristic. Basically, I do enjoy going through my top 100 at any given point and seeing how many games come from crowdfunding, especially as I do find that currently the past year or two I've been a little bit lower on how much I actually crowdfund. I used to back like a ton of games every month. Now I back maybe one a month on average. I've been a lot more restrictive about what I actually try to go out and get from crowdfunding, but I do find that crowdfunding still does deliver some real bangers of different games, and my top 100 is a testament to how prevalent crowdfunding is as an influence on my hobby, on my collection, both from the 10 I'm going to go through, as well as from the 5 special mentions as well, and we'll explain how those work, well, I guess now. The top 10 are 10 games that were originally crowdfunded games, whereas the top 5, the extra 5, the 5 special mentions, are instead going to be games that there are crowdfunding versions that I got later, but they did not start as a crowdfunding game. So games that became popular and then got some crowdfunding versus games that came through life through crowdfunding, if that makes sense. And to that end, let's go ahead and start off with the first of our special mentions, which is going to be Inish. Inish, a game I haven't even backed yet, but will be very shortly, although honestly, I guess technically by the time you watch this, I probably have backed this one. Inish coming to you from Colossal, originally, I guess technically coming to you from Outego. I thought Colossal took over the line. Either way, Inish is a delightful game. My favorite, it's hard. There's so many, between Cyclades, Kemet, and Inish. Cyclades and Inish, I do go back and forth on which one I think is better, but both are amazing experiences, and Inish is coming to crowdfunding, or is on crowdfunding by the time you watch this video, with a big box and expansion to the game. So, bonus mention because it didn't really start on crowdfunding. Similarly, we have Terraforming Mars, and Inish, by the way, is my number 16 game out of my top 100 from last year. Inish was my 16 of all time. Terraforming Mars, coming in at my number 9, is one that, again, got heavily into it before ever backing it, but then, of course, once they discovered how popular the game was and how much they can go ahead and get out of it on crowdfunding as they put out new maps, deluxifications, all those various things, tapping into a very, very popular audience, a very big audience for a popular game, Terraforming Mars also gets that special mention category. So does Cyclades. Going back and forth with Inish, Cyclades currently coming in at my number 8. It's a great game, and Legendary Edition makes it even better. Have you seen the Dice Tower review of it? I think they gave it like 9s or 10s, something very popular, and it deserves every single one of those marks. I think Cyclades is a great game to begin with, and I think the Legendary Edition is a better version of an already great game. Coming in at number 2, we have Everdell. Another game that did not start in crowdfunding, but one that has certainly tapped into that market as well, with expansions, big boxes, variants, offshoots, all of that and more. Everdell has had millions and millions of dollars raised from it, but it did not start there, which is why it gets the special mention category. And then, of course, Castles of Burgundy coming in. I think Everdell is my number 5. Castles of Burgundy coming in as my number 1 game of all time as of last year. A game that I continue to play. I just finished another game yesterday. I play this game so often, and I do not get sick of it. It is a testament. I have like 150 plays of Castles of Burgundy, something like that, and I do not get sick of playing it. It is so ridiculously good. But this is one that was my number 1 game of all time, and the deluxe special edition of it from Awakened Realms, while it does make the game even better, it is and was a great game to begin with. And also, the miniatures are kind of like, I use them sometimes, but I love the acrylic tiles. Those are very, very nice. And so those are my 5 special mentions, games that did not come to life through crowdfunding initially, but have since had crowdfunding versions. Which brings us to my top 10 list. We're going to be starting off with Spirit Island. By the way, Calico just missed the cut over here. Calico is my number 11, coming in at my number 27th game. Well, 11 on this list, 27 of all time, but I don't know why I'm mentioning it. It didn't make the cut. Coming in at number 10, we have Spirit Island. Spirit Island is my number 26th game of all time as of last year, and this game is so ridiculously good. And it's one of those games that started on crowdfunding from Greater Than Games. May they sort of rest in peace. Like, I still feel bad about that. And I supposedly Spirit Island will still exist in one form or another, but Spirit Island is a cooperative game of managing your spirits and trying to repel the invaders in a game that has such ridiculously good gameplay, works well solo, works well co-op, and gives you so much variety from the game, and the expansions make the game even better. This is my number 10 in the crowdfunding category, and this is my number 26 on my personal list, but I guess number 10 on this particular list. Coming at number 9, we have Mind Management. Mind Management was my 21 highest game of all time as of last year, which I'm going to keep saying, I guess, throughout this video. But Mind Management from Jay Cormier from Off the Page Games, the game that brought Off the Page Games to life, and they've had several follow-up games, all really well received so far. Their newest one is going to be coming out shortly, Grendel, if I'm not mistaken. But Mind Management is a hidden movement game, and it is my favorite hidden movement game in my collection. Such a ridiculously, and this is the same year that I played Beast, and Beast became my favorite. Then I played Mind Management, and Mind Management became my favorite. Mind Management gives you incredible gameplay in half an hour-ish. I say half an hour-ish because, I mean, the box says 60, but honestly, I've knocked out multiple games in that half an hour range. Sometimes you can get a little AP prone, a little slower on the how things are going, but it's a great game that really manages to give the best hidden movement game experience I've had, both in terms of the way the game ramps up with the players, giving them more stuff as you get into it, but also in terms of the way it always makes both sides feel like they're constantly in the game. I do find this one of the weak spots of hidden movement as a genre, where sometimes it can feel like a player is completely lost or completely trapped, and I find Mind Management nearly every game feels a perfectly balanced well of that game, and if it's not, they still have the shift system, giving points to one side or the other to make the game harder for one side or the other if you're playing against experienced players and finding that you don't get that sense of balance. Or you can use the shift system to help both sides out, mixing up your gameplay experience. Mind Management is excellent. Coming in at number 8, we have The Witcher Old World. 13 on my top 100. Again, we are in the top 8. Keep in mind, in the top 8 already, we're looking at basically number 13. So I guess what's the math in that? From my top 13 games of all time, I think that means that 5 of them are not crowdfunded games, and the other 8 are crowdfunded games. Again, I mean it when I say that crowdfunding has had an impact on my collection in many ways, and some of these games don't even seem like, the next game doesn't even seem like it's a crowdfunded game, or Calico, the one that missed the spot, doesn't even feel like it should be a crowdfunded game, but it very much is. But back to The Witcher Old World, my number 8 over here, number 13 on my top 100 from Go On Board. This is one that, like, it hasn't, okay, so whenever I get the chance to play a game before it actually comes out, and I talk about how excited I am, I'm always a little nervous of which ones will stick the landing. And The Witcher Old World is one that I thought would totally stick the landing, and to be fair, it is very well received. It's like, I think it's a mid-8 if I'm not mistaken, so like, it's definitely well received. But every once in a while, not every once in a while, frequently enough I see people who are like, yeah, it wasn't for me, I didn't like it, didn't capture the spirit, felt like a slog, and to be fair, it is a game that runs slow. I think it's a game that plays best at 2 or 3 players, and even at 3 players, ideally experienced players, but the game you get out of it, I have never once played this game without feeling like I wanted to play it again. Every single time I play it, it is just an epically good experience that is so delightful to play through, and I have so much fun with it. The Witcher Old World is my favorite adventure-style game in my collection. It's clearly not for everyone, but it's rated well enough that it probably is for you. Coming to you from Go On Board, capturing incredible miniatures, great gameplay. There are complaints about the base game, to be very clear. I do think the Kickstarter stuff in the game, the Kickstarter version of the game, and some of the expansions, I think did a great job of addressing those. One of the biggest is going to be the card variety or the monster variety. Like in the base game alone, the monsters feel kind of samey with like one minor rules difference to make them stand out. But overall, and then some players have a problem with the idea that you do fight other Witchers in the game, which does have thematic tie-ins to the source material, but granted, I understand feeling the Witcher should be a cooperative gameplay, and again, there's an expansion to take it to make it solo or co-op, but I love The Witcher Old World. I don't play it enough, but that's true of most of the games I love. That is going to be my number 8. My number 7, like I said already, doesn't even feel like it should be a crowdfunded game, and that's because this is for Northwood. It's a tiny, small box game. What's crowdfunded about this one? But this is crowdfunded from Side Room Games, and it's one of those games. I think I saw someone this past week saying they saw a copy on eBay for $100 because it is constantly sought after and constantly in between print runs. This is one of those games that I had someone comment in my video once that if they had a nickel for every time I recommended for Northwood, they would have, like, I don't know, a dozen nickels or so. And they're not wrong. They would probably have a dozen, maybe even 2 dozen nickels. I think For Northwood is excellent. It is my number 7 on this list and my number 12 on my top 100. It's a solo trick-taking game that I do not get bored of. I don't know what it is about this game, but I love the experience. I love playing it. It's one of my go-to travel games. It's a tiny little box and great to play. I mean, not great to play on an airplane, but I have played on an airplane, and I'm sure I will do so again. It's just that you kind of have to make those tray tables work for you, and that is a little bit of work, but the payoff is delightful. Solo trick-taking, not a thing you'd think you'd hear go well together, but there's a lot of really trying to math out how much can you rely on odds and how much can you guarantee the victory, and I find that there is a mix there. There's times I play through a round, and I really manage to like perfectly set myself up for success with a combination of abilities where I'm like, I can make this work for sure. And there's other times where I'm relying on the odds, and then sure enough, I draw that one card in the deck that was going to defeat me, and that does happen too, which is my only real complaint about the game. Sometimes you play the odds, and the odds turns out that they win very, very strongly. But For Northwood, a great game and a high recommendation. Coming in at number 6 on this list, my number 11 on my top 100, we have Rurik, Stone and Blade from Peacekeeper Games. This is one, I'm so used to doing 2-back, not to back. I almost said 3,000 backers, $210,000 raised, but no, that's not what this video is. But Rurik Stone and Blade is such a good game, and it's one of those sleeper hits that, like some of these games that I'm going through, I didn't originally back. In some cases, I traded for them or I got them retail, but they were originally crowdfunded games. And in the case of Rurik, I traded for it almost as an afterthought. It was a trade where I was like, sure, this looks good. Like I pulled up the crowdfunded page, I'd never heard of it. I looked into it, I was like, I'll give it a shot, why not? And then I had it in my collection for a few months before one day I pulled out the rulebook, read it, sat down and played it, and it was one of the better gaming experiences that we've had. It is so ridiculously fun. Rurik Dawn of Kiev is one of the best area control games I have. Again, coming in at number 11 on my list, there is an area control game that is higher, we'll get to that soon enough, but Rurik is just, it's so good. It plays in 4 rounds, forcing the players to really think about every single decision they make as far as how they're going to try to place out their people, utilize their buildings, gather the resources, and score as many points in this incredibly tight game. The expansion gives you further variability to the experience, gives you more buildings to work with, variable buildings to work with. Some of the modules I don't really care about in the expansion, but other modules are amazing. Honestly, should I have included it? I just recently did a video of the top 10 board game expansions, and certain modules in Rurik Stone and Blade, I don't think it would make the top 10, but it certainly would be in that like next 5. It's a good expansion for an excellent game. Coming in at number 5 and number 10 on my list, we have Too Many Bones from Chip Theory Games. A game that I refuse to even consider getting rid of at any point in any way. I have the giant all-in loot crate at this point, giving you everything you possibly could have for this game. I have too much content and I don't play it all, but I do play it. It's one of those games that I pull out and table here and there. I still need to play through like half, like there's so many things I don't know if I'll ever get to. I don't know if I'll ever build your own a baddie, nemesis, whatever it is. I don't know if I'll ever really do that in the game. There's so many different aspects to this, but Too Many Bones is one of the best RPG-esque experiences that I have ever. Like again, I mentioned that Witcher is like the best adventure game. Too Many Bones is more the RPG character growth. Like from all the games I have in my top 100, I think this is my favorite in that genre. The degree of abilities you have, the degree in which you build your character, going out on these quests, the character variety, every character providing its own unique puzzle to the game, and they are masterful puzzles. Like again, there's a reason I have like, I don't know, all 20 plus characters for this game, and I've only played through like 6 or 7 of them because I haven't felt the need. Whenever I sit down and table this, I'm like, do I try something new, or do I just try a new pathway, a new tree on one of the characters I already know and love, especially when you're playing a two-handed solo, which is often the way I most often play it, and then you have opportunity to combine different characters in new ways, and then you only want to like, at most, like trying to learn a new character while you're two-handing, it can be a lot, but this game is so good, so variable, so much content for it, too much content, more content than any one human being ever needs, which is fine because it's never leaving this house. Well, I guess if I move, it's leaving this house, but other than that, it's never leaving this house. Coming at number 4, we have the area control game that exceeds Rurik. We have DEI Divide Et Impera. This is one, again, sometimes, again, my opinions sometimes are in alignment with the general majority, like Too Many Bones is massively well received, and then sometimes my opinion is definitely higher than the majority, and that's certainly true for DEI Divide Et Impera. Don't get me wrong, it is a well-rated game, but make sure to check other reviews for other opinions, because I think I have an opinion, and it's not just me, it's my entire game group. Like, there are times where I love a game, and my game group doesn't, and the rest of the world doesn't, and I'm like, clearly it's just me. But this is one where every time I've played this with somebody in my game group, they have loved the game. It is Area Control from Ludus Magnus Studios. It is number 4 on this list, number 7 in my top 100, and Divide Et Impera gives you layered area control that feels a little bit like El Grande in the way it's more peaceful than it is conflict-based. Yes, there is war. Yes, there are machines that fly around shooting others, but really the amount of killing that goes on this game is an absolute minimum. You are playing this game on several layers as you wander the frozen landscape, as you try to gather resources, buy more cars to improve your engine, utilize any number of expansions, which I still haven't bothered to do because the base game is so good. Again, like, sometimes I have expansions because I love a game enough that I want that sense of completeness, and sometimes I don't play them, and I'm okay. They're like books that go on a shelf that you don't read. Sometimes it's just about that joy of ownership. Not the joy of hoarding. I try to avoid hoarding in general, but if I love a game, I will have all the expansions for it. I don't care if I ever get to them, but I'll get to them eventually. Probably, maybe, possibly, we shall see. It doesn't really matter. DEI Divide Et Impera is a fantastic area control game that doesn't feel too punishing because you don't really die a lot, but you might not win either. Like, it is definitely a lot of control going on as you move your characters around, build various things, build elevators, build bridges, build encampments, as you try to gather new cards and try to build the best combo of everything while being mindful of the variable goals. There is so much going on in here about this game that I absolutely adore. That's Divide Et Impera. Coming at number 3, one that will be no surprise, I guess my next 3 will probably be no surprise, but we have Primal The Awakening. This is number 6 on my top 100, number 3 on this list. Primal The Awakening from Reggie Games is such a good, like, this is my favorite boss battler. Every one of these games is getting a category, although technically my number 2 You could argue it's a boss battler. I don't think it does. I don't think it is. This is my favorite boss battler on my top 100 because it's I mean, I don't think I have anyone's higher. Like, Osman's not higher than this. But this is an epic experience. It's one of the few prototypes that I kept around for like the 2.5 years since I played it. I just kept the prototype, always wanted to table it. Primal is such a good time as you build your character's decks. It has a little bit of a Marvel Champions vibe, and the way you build your decks and the way you try to be mindful of what you spend in order to get the actions that you need while you try to build up these epic combos. Sometimes it feels like you're like, how do you get enough done with like only 5 cards? And like there's this limitation that you can't play more than 5. You're like, I only have 5 and I need to pay for the other cards. And then other times you have your equipment working for you, you have your cards chaining off in the combos, and everything comes together, and you're like, wow, I feel like this is a turn where I can play 8 cards. That limitation of 5 is really bothering me. But the way things come together in this game, it is an epic, challenging experience that provides excellent one-shot experiences with an excellent campaign experience that is manageable in the game length. It's not super long. It's quote-unquote just long enough as far as the campaign goes. But this is an epic game, and if you haven't tried it out yet, definitely check it out if you have the opportunity to do so. It is not cheap. It is a big box. There are flaws there. There are things that make this not a great game for everyone. Like if they came out with the standee version, I mean, I'd prefer the miniature version, but I think it would have a place and an audience, and I think that Primal's so good. It's worth trying out if you have the opportunity to do so. It's my favorite boss battler and an epic experience. Coming at number 2, we have Cthulhu Death May Die. My number 3 game of all time, my number 2 on this list, and Cthulhu Death May Die is my number 3 of all time? What was my number 2? Oh, I know my number 2. My number 2 is the next one, because Castles of Burgundy is the number 1. That's why. Cthulhu Death May Die, coming to you from Simon. This is the game that started me down the crowdfunding rabbit hole. Not my first crowdfunding game, but the first one where I started to, like, explore crowdfunding for the sake of finding games, as opposed to having that one publisher who I saw they put out a campaign. This is the one that really led me down that rabbit hole, which I always think is always ironic because of that descent into madness. But Cthulhu Death May Die, it's one that I backed despite not loving Arkham horror-themed games in the past. And I was like, you know what? This one feels different. This one, they promised the idea that you could punch Cthulhu in the face. They promised they lived up to, which is why I said you can kind of consider this a boss battler, but really it's more of a dungeon crawler. My favorite dungeon crawler game in this collection, in my collection as of last year. But it's a dungeon crawler experience with a penultimate or ultimate finale against the various elder gods. To me, I love the way this game ramps up, the way it makes your characters feel powerful. I talked about the Too Many Bones character growth and all that. If you want a game that is less of a mental load, but just as rewarding as far as the way you, not just as rewarding, almost as rewarding as the way you build your characters, I think Cthulhu Death May Die delivers that experience because your characters get more and more insane, and as they get more insane, they get closer to death, but they get more powerful, unlocking more and more abilities. Combine that with those items you found, and you will find yourself an epic powerhouse against the Elder God. The problem is, the Elder God always comes at you with 3 forms, and he gets more powerful, or she gets more powerful as they get ramping up progressively and become harder and harder to kill, which is why almost every game of Cthulhu Death May Die ends with someone dying. Well, sure, someone dies, that's not a question, but it usually ends with multiple people dying. Usually your investigators start dying off as you manage to take down the Elder God, or alternatively you don't make it that far, and you just all die without taking down the Elder God. There's always death, there's always an epic clash that rises to a crescendo, and it's why I love this experience so much, and I will not get tired of the amount of content they put out. I say now, but that's, you never really know. Maybe I'll get tired. And my number 1 on this list, my number 2 on my top 100 is Vindication. From Orange Nebula, ONEB, Vindication is, I'd say it's my favorite Euro game on my top 100, but I think Castles of Burgundy gets that distinction. But Vindication definitely has a good combination of Eurory plus adventure plus optimization. There's a whole lot going on here, but it is excellent, and it is what made me fall in love with Orange Nebula as a publisher. I've loved their games in general, Vindication, Unsettled, and Spiritfire coming up as well. But Vindication is probably still my favorite from their games. It's hard. It's like, I guess it is my number 2. It's my number 2 and Unsettled is not. So I guess Vindication is definitely my favorite over the year. But Vindication is delightful. It's so good as far as every time you engage in the game, there's a different puzzle of how you combine things. It's all about seeing the patterns in this game, which is why I love it. And the cards there's so many cards in this game that there's kind of a preset structure of what you know you're encountering, but then the way you mix in cards, the way you mix in expansions, it just expands that puzzle near infinitely. So basically, to me, the game of Vindication is like, here's all these factors, and now it's up to you, the player, to try to find a way to make all those factors make as much sense as possible so that you see the optimal pattern towards victory better than the other players. And I love that experience. To me, it's so well done. It doesn't make me feel constricted. It makes me feel like I have the world at my disposal. I like Euro games, but I like Euro games where it's all about what you can do, not about what you can't do. And so many Euro games are about, like, you have 4 turns to get everything done, and you need to kind of math this out, and they can be rewarding, but I like a game that lets the players move at their own pace, finding those opportunities to feel open and grow rather than to feel constricted and limited, and Vindication definitely delivers that in spades while providing a near infinite experience because of the combination of expansions, of cards, of modules, of every single thing. Like, they have these stacks of companions, and you'll see like 3 or 4 a game, unless you're doing empowered draws, then you'll see more, but you don't see most of those companions every single game, providing an excellent experience and one that I truly love. That is Vindication. And that's basically what we have over here. These are my top 10, I guess, okay, how do you even phrase this again? My top 10 crowdfunded games from my top 100. Again, from my top, was it 26 over there? So from my top 26 games, we have 10 of them being crowdfunded games. And from my top 13 games, we have 8 of them being crowdfunded games. And that doesn't count the additional bonus 5 we got from those ones that are going to have crowdfunded versions that in some way make the game better, improving it. Like Castles of Burgundy is better because of crowdfunding. Cyclades, Everdell, Terraforming Mars, these are better games because of crowdfunding. I will always have a part of myself tied to crowdfunding in many, many ways. Whether I back more games one month or less games one month, I think crowdfunding really does provide amazing game experiences to the board game hobby, and you don't have to pay attention to it. There's so many great games outside of crowdfunding, but if you are leaning into crowdfunding, there are times where you'll get real gems of an experience that it's just that crowdfunding makes some of these things possible. Although you can also stay away from crowdfunding and buy them used, or when they come to retail later, so you don't have to ever engage with crowdfunding itself. It's just that crowdfunding does provide some excellent games to the board game hobby. And with that, that has been today's video. I'll be back next week with 2 Back and Not to Back. I assume I'll be back. I mean, unless something horrible happened to the flight. But, well, I'll probably be back next week with 2 Back and Not to Back. And until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, I hope you have a good one. I bought a ceiling fan the other day. Complete waste of money. He just stands there applauding and talking about how much he loves ceilings.